Hello, hello. I'm Eric, and I represent the Paperback Warrior podcast, YouTube channel, and blog. Every few weeks, I do a special episode under the banner of Conversations. This is a collaboration with authors, publishers, bloggers, YouTubers, podcasters, pretty much anyone foolish enough to waste away their valuable time talking about books, make-believe stuff, mostly old books at that, so that's even worse. But today I found two people who enjoy wasting valuable time as well. They like to talk about old books. So my guests today are YouTubers, two of them here. I've got Nick from the Book Graveyard and Brian from Bad Taste Books. Um, yeah, guys, why don't you tell viewers and listeners a little bit about your channel and why they should tune in and waste time with you? Brian, why don't you go first?
It's a good question. I don't know. Yeah, I just kind of hang out talking about books. I like all kinds of genres, from crime and men's adventure and horror and sci-fi and fantasy and just old paperbacks. I think they're fun. If you've ever watched Nick at the Book Graveyard, I kind of think of myself as like the dollar store version of his channel.
Okay. All right. I like, okay, that's cool.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Nick, you go.
Wow, I thought I was already on the clearance rack. I didn't know it could get any lower.
Wow.
So, yeah, I like to waste my time, your time, talking about vintage genre fiction. I enjoy old paperback books. I don't really read too much new stuff. I like old stuff. I like the pre-internet. And yeah, the more exploitive, the better.
Yeah.
The more schlocky, the better. I enjoyed B movies, and that kind of led me down the path to this unending wealth of stories.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool. And you like Ghostbusters and The Golden Child because you talk about those movies a lot. That's your jam.
It is. It is. No shame.
All right. All right. Well, today's episode is a collaboration review to discuss the 1977 novel The Terror Truckers, and this is book number 26 in the Butcher series. There you go. Brian's got it. He's got the paperback right there. We'll talk about the main character, his origin, so forth, because the very first chapter of all the Butcher books has his origin and how he's conceived and that kind of thing. But so obviously the name of this book, The Terror Truckers, means that it involves truckers, tractor trailers, 18-wheelers, whatever people want to call them. Optimus Prime isn't in the book, I guess, because he wasn't invented at this point. So no Optimus Prime, unfortunately. But to make up for it, there is trucker lingo, I guess, or CB radio slang, I guess is what you call it. I don't even know. But in one scene, the Butcher gets like the lowdown on CB slang and what some of the different definitions are. So I wanted to kick us off with like asking you guys some funny little terms for that I've either seen in the book or that I just researched, and I was gonna ask each of you like to guess what these things mean. Is that cool?
Yeah.
I thought it'd be fun. I had no idea what some of these were. I don't even know if any of this stuff is actually even true, but I don't know. But all right. So Brian, I'm gonna hit you first, and if you miss the guess, then Nick, you can chime in. But Nick, what does having a seat cover refer to? If a trucker says he has a seat cover, what does that refer to?
This is me, or
Yeah, you can go.
seat cover.
Yeah, you got a seat cover.
He picked up a hitchhiker.
Close, but wrong. Nick, you want to go?
Is it a hooker?
No, not really.
A lot lizard? Is it a lot lizard, Eric?
This means it's a female passenger. So just a female passenger. So that's what it means. Nick, how about what does the term shaking hands with Shorty mean? Shaking hands with Shorty.
Shaking hands with Shorty. Does it mean they have to downshift or something?
Nope. Brian, what do you got?
Shaking hands. I don't know. They're being tailed by a cop.
No, it means peeing.
Okay. That makes more sense.
That's
Oh, it's-
kind of insulting, huh?
for some people, I guess. All right, Brian, what's your guess on what an angry kangaroo is? An angry kangaroo.
I don't even know where to start with that one. Maybe just a driver who's blaring their horn at them.
Yeah, it could be, I guess, but no, kind of, sort of, but not really. How about you, Nick? What's your best guess on that? Angry kangaroo.
That was going to be my guess too. An angry kangaroo. What else could it be?
Yeah,
Kangaroos.
yeah, you would think it would be boxing, like an angry kangaroo boxing, but yeah, it means that it's a tractor trailer with one or both of its headlights out. So I don't angry
Wouldn't have got
kangaroo.
that one.
Yeah, in
either.
what way does that represent a kangaroo?
I don't know. Maybe it's the boxing. The kangaroos. There's one light. There's two. I'm just guessing. Doesn't make any sense. Nick, how about the term "bear in the sky"? Bear in the sky.
Thunderstorm? Bad weather? Tornado?
Brian, how about you take a guess at it think about Smokey and the Bear. So Smokey and the Bear. So bear in the sky.
There's smoke in the sky. I don't know. There's
It's
a
a
fire
cop.
somewhere nearby.
Yeah, the cop. Yeah, an aircraft or helicopter doing radar in the sky. So bear in the sky. It could also mean eye in the sky. So eye in the sky.
A helicopter.
Yep. Let's see, Brian. What about smile and comb your hair? You better smile and comb your hair.
That means the cop's gonna get you, right?
Yep, means there's police up ahead. They're going to do a radar. This is so dumb, Nick. What is go girls on the dance floor? Go girls on the dance floor.
Does it mean it's really windy? It's shaking all around?
I mean, you would think so, but no.
I like that.
I don't know, Brian. What do you think? You got
There are there's a car driving with some attractive ladies in it nearby.
Nope. It's I like that though, but no, it's a livestock truck hauling animals. How that figures into go girls on the dance floor is livestock truck hauling animals. All right, Brian, take a guess on this one.
Maybe because the animals are having a hard time standing up straight. Like,
Yeah, that makes sense.
A dog in a band,
Yeah, maybe they're just. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I can see that then. Brian, a pregnant roller skate. Pregnant roller skate.
Large man on a motorcycle.
That's awesome. That's actually awesome, but that's not it. That's not it. Nick, you want to guess?
Is it an oversized load?
No, it's a Volkswagen Beetle car.
Mine's better.
Yeah, yours is better. Yeah. All right, last couple. Nick, what's a pickle park? Pickle park.
A rest stop?
Containing. A rest stop containing.
Oh, God.
I don't know. I don't know what's allowed on your channel here, Eric.
You could just go for it. I would say if you're going to park your pickle, the rest stop has. Yeah, those.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's as opposed to just a regular rest stop, it would be a pickle park. And then let's see, Brian, if I said to you, you're on one's donkey, what would that mean? You're on one's donkey.
You're tailing someone too close. You're on their
There
ass.
you go. There you go. You got it.
That one makes sense.
That one that's probably the only one here that really makes a whole lot of sense. All right, Nick, you're getting the last one because this last one plays into the book. At the very beginning, the bad guy tells Butcher thermos bottle. What's thermos bottle mean?
Thermos bottle is the tanker with the gas in it.
Yep, you got it. Yep, tanker truck.
Tanker
Truck. Let me do one more because Brian texted us like a few weeks back. I don't know if Brian still remembers this, but he said he said haircut palace. Do you remember what
Yeah.
haircut palace is? What's
I
that?
do. That was one of my favorite ones. I told my wife that the other day when we were driving. I say, watch out for that haircut palace. It's it's a low hanging overpass because it might kind of cut the top of your truck off.
Yeah, a little off the top. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So so let's jump into this book again. It's Butcher number 26, The Terror Truckers, published by Pinnacle in October 1977. My wife gets a kick out of the Butcher in general because this was probably like 2 or 3 years. I had every Butcher paperback except one. So every time we would go into a bookstore, because she always goes with me, and she's got like a list of books that she always checks for me. That she's always looking to see if they have the Butcher, so she gets a kick out of the Butcher. She's always like, "They have the Butcher number, whatever." But anyway, there was the books have Stuart Jason on the covers. Of course, Stuart Jason's just a house name. Most of the first 26 books in the Butcher were written by a guy named James Dockery. I think Lee Foran wrote a couple. But this book that we're talking about today, Terror Truckers, was written by James Dockery. And it was interesting. I was reading on Joe Kinney's Glorious Trash website that it would take Pinnacle almost 2 years, or just a little over 2 years, to resume this series because this was Dockery's last Butcher installment, and he left the series. So Pinnacle takes 2 years to try to find out who they want to write the series, and they finally tapped Michael Avallone to start writing the books in December of 1979. So about 26 months later, they finally resumed publishing these books. Michael Avallone wrote the last 9 installments, and then if you've read the review of, I think this is number 30, I think it's 34, I think on the blog, the series just ends. Like there's no resolution, there's no giant payout or anything like that. The book just ends. So there's nothing really special about it. But every Butcher book always begins the exact same way. It's with the origin story at the very beginning in chapter 1, and then it'll kind of go into his whole mission. But Nick, I think you've read a Butcher book or two before this. What's the general idea behind Butcher?
Well, Butcher was an orphan. He was left on the doorstep of a orphanage in Tennessee. And then at the age of 10, he falls asleep in a railroad car and wakes up in Chicago. He's a street kid, and he befriends the son of a syndicate man, a mafia man. And the mafia man's son has leukemia and dies. So they kind of... Oh, somebody laughing at that?
I don't think so.
So the kid dies, and then Booker is adopted. So he is raised by the syndicate and becomes muscle and rises through the ranks until he's at the top. And then when he's at the top, he decides that he looks back on his life and has decided that he doesn't like what he's done and all the ways that he's gained his wealth and riches. So he decides to quit the syndicate, which they don't allow. But he doesn't care because he's tough.
Right.
And he's approached by a secret government organization named White Hat. And they ask him to come join the organization.
Yeah.
And he says, sure, why not? I'm going to, make up for all this bad stuff I did. But 2 things is you're not allowed to pay me. I will not be paid. And I do things my way. So he's not going to follow any rules.
That's right.
He has 3 names. The first is his real name, Booker, which is he only has one name. He's like Cher. Just Booker.
You think it's pronounced Booker?
I don't know. There was a weather guy on the news here, and that was his last name, and that's how they said it. So that's how I see it.
Okay, I just assumed it was pronounced Butcher.
That's what I thought too.
They just put a T in there to make it the real word Butcher.
Yeah,
But
no, on the
it
news they say Booker.
But it's a meteorologist. I mean, if you're a meteorologist, you really want to go out there telling people about a tornado and your name's Butcher. You know,
They could have changed it.
who knows?
So he was named Booker. I see. The
Hey, wait a
Reverend.
minute. What if it could be Bobby Boucher, like Bobby Boucher? It's Boucher, like the water boy.
Could be. It could be. That'd be the Cajun version of it.
Yeah.
But he was named after a 16th century German Protestant and herborist named Booker. Butcher? I don't know.
Booker. Who knows?
So then in the Mafia, his name is the Butcher, and in White Hat, his code name is Iceman.
And he only has one name because his original adopted parent forgot to give him a name.
It was the Reverend. He was an alcoholic. He was an alcoholic,
Wow.
and he was wasted, and the welfare guy came in, and he was like, "What's his name?" And the guy's like, "I don't know, Booker." I'm like, "Whatever."
Yeah.
Do you guys know of any other series, like long-running series like this, that literally says the exact same thing in the first chapter of every book? I mean, you get this whole spill. It's like 15 pages in every book.
Is it word for word, or do they change minor details to make it pertinent to the current story?
I don't think it's word for word, but I think it's pretty much the exact same thing. Every single book.
I do know that the Animorphs series, that middle grade series from the 90s, the first chapter of every book is not word for word the same, but it's pretty dang close as they set up the whole, because they wanted it to be standalone.
Yeah.
But in reality, you can't read those standalone. They wouldn't make sense. But
Wow.
they do that.
Can you imagine if they did like Batman, like the comic book Batman, like for 80 years of every single issue, like the first 2 pages is the origin? That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
And they explain Hawk's background in everyone, but it's not right away like that. It's not just obvious, but they do drop it in there. It reminds me of Quantum Leap. Did you watch Quantum Leap?
That's what, yeah.
Where they had to explain it at the beginning of right before the music would start.
Yes. Yeah, stepping into the Quantum Leap accelerator.
Yeah,
Dr.
big long
Sam
diatribe.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite shows ever. That's great. Yeah, so every first chapter also includes at least 1 or 2 syndicate guys trying to cash in on the money, the bounty, so they try to kill Butcher at the beginning of every book. And in this case, the same thing. And they always have like stereotypical names always. So it's like Pete Mazzoli in this one. It's Stud Lorenzo. They both show up to try to kill Butcher. And of course, he has a Walther P-38, which he's always talking about. And it shoots 9mm dum-dum bullets, which just means he's taken the bullet and he's carved an X on the end of it, so it kind of spreads out when it hits someone. But it's written in a pulp style because every time he kills someone, it says "Koosh." It says "Koosh" in italics with an exclamation mark or something. I don't know, but so basically, you guys have anything else? But chapter 1 is that, and then he kills the 2 guys that are trying to kill him. And that's pretty much it then he also, the second guy that he kills off Mazzulli and Stud Lorenzo, who have no bearing on the story whatsoever. But one of those guys, I think it's Mazzulli, says thermos bottle to Butcher. Butcher's like, what is he talking about? Thermos bottle. But later we find out that plays into the actual story, right?
I do like how nonchalant he is after he kills those 2 guys and then meets his boss at the diner. Right. And he's like, you're a little late. And he's like, yeah. Just another day.
Just no big deal. Said ice these 2 guys.
I like that he describes one of the guys as a sweaty hog stuffed with red spaghetti.
Yeah. Yes, I actually took a picture of that page because I've never seen that before.
It's so awesome. I have a question. Are we talking spoilers here?
Might as well. I mean, anybody who's going to read The Butcher pretty much knows what's going to happen anyway, right? So
I have a question. I kept waiting for Thermos Bottle to come back around. How this mob guy was?
right.
What is he? Was he warning it? How does he even know? It has nothing to do with the syndicate at all.
Yeah.
No.
How would this guy even know? Why would he care? This is a stone cold killer. He's dying, and his last words are "Save the children, Butcher." He don't care.
Makes
And
no sense.
the whole book, he keeps wondering, is this tied to the syndicate? And then they don't really.
That doesn't ever say.
Yeah.
Not really. I mean, I guess we're supposed to just make the leap that, with all the trucker unions and stuff, we're supposed to just tie that into the syndicate in some fashion, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's never really. There's a lot of things in here that we'll talk about. This doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but like basically when chapter 2, he's meeting up with the guy from White Hat, and they give him the assignment, which they say is right outside of Nick's home there in Dayton, Ohio. There's been a
I'm so excited.
There's been a mysterious gas spewed over the community, killing 100 people and thousands of heads of livestock. So Whitehead wants Butcher to go to Ohio to investigate the gas attack. But, we're not going to send the FBI or the CDC. We're not going to send any of those people. We're just going to send the Butcher, which totally makes sense. And he's going to drive it. But I don't know. I don't know that area. So how far is it really they want him to drive. They don't want him to go by plane. They want him to drive the turnpike from New York over to Dayton, Ohio. I mean, isn't that like a 10 or 15 hour drive or something? How long is that?
Yeah, it's probably like 10.
I mean, it's a long drive.
Yeah.
I mean,
but it gives them time to warm up the CB.
Well, so you're talking like this 10 hour drive or whatever, and then it just so happens along the 10-hour drive that the terror truckers, spot Butcher on the road and try to run him off the road right outside of Dayton, right? I mean, because he's literally like, what is he, like 9 hours and 45 minutes into the trip, and then they finally spot him outside of Dayton, and they're like, we're just gonna run him off the road.
Yeah.
And that's so. What happened the other 9 hours and 45 minutes? Just nothing? You just
listen to audiobooks.
Listen to the Butcher on audio, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought that was. But what's really interesting about this one is that he normally never has a partner. So they're actually assigning him a partner named Philip Carey, which I thought was really weird because in all the Butcher books that I've read, he's never had any help from White Hat. Can you remember any time that's ever happened? Brian, I guess I should ask, have you ever read a Butcher book before this?
This was my first one.
Okay. First one. But Nick, the book that you read, I don't remember him ever having a partner.
No. I read the Hoodoo Horror.
Yeah, the Hoodoo Horror. I've read like maybe 4 or 5 of them, and he's never had a partner. So this was kind of weird that they would just have this weird Philip Carey guy show up. And I think Butcher's been sent to like Afghanistan and all over the world into these horrible places. They've never sent anybody with him, but he's going to a small farming community outside of Dayton, Ohio. They're like, he's got to have a partner. Like he just has to have somebody with him.
He has to have the partner because the partner used to live there and he understands these farm people.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Well,
It's not like going to Afghanistan where he needs a local contact. He's got that. But these crazy hicks back here,
yeah.
he doesn't
Okay.
Did you guys suspect something about him then right away? Not to get into spoilers.
Yeah, I mean, it started to be weird that he hadn't shown up yet. I was thinking like, okay, why is he not? Because as we get further into the book, the Butcher's waiting to meet up with this Philip Carey guy so they can talk about the mission, but he's not showing up, so Butcher's starting to wonder what's going on. But so chapter 2, like I said, Butcher's driving down the road. He gets ran off the road by a tanker truck, and then he gets a lift into this little town called Burton, which apparently is there a real Burton, Ohio? Is that like a real place, like outside of Dayton, or is that they just make that up?
I don't remember Burton. No,
okay.
I thought it was unnamed, the unnamed farm town.
No, it's a small. It says.
I looked it up. It was named, and I don't think it exists.
Okay, it doesn't exist.
But he doesn't describe like sort of. Doesn't he say it's like east, sort of northeast of Dayton in the outskirts or something?
I think so. Yeah, and he ends up checking. Yeah, I think so. He ends up checking into this little town in Burton, and he checks into the Dayton Motor Lodge. So keep that in mind, the Dayton Motor Lodge. And the guy that's running the front desk there tells him that he should go to this local truck stop and inquire there about the gas attacks or whatever is happening. And he should go to this truck stop called Carter Truck Stop. And so he goes there next. Any thoughts on everything so far?
Well, Nick, you go to Carter's Truck Stop all the time, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't know what they're talking about. There are some places that exist in this book that are real. The
Okay.
Dayton Mall. When he stays at the Dayton Mall. They're always
You're
talking about.
So you're telling me there's a real Pittsburgh? There's a real place called Pittsburgh?
There's a real town called Pittsburgh.
Wow. So, like every butcher book has to have the origin story in the first chapter. I guess there's also a requirement from the publisher that there has to be at least one graphic sex scene in every book. Sometimes there's two, but there has to be at least one. And it's so ridiculous how this starts. I'm trying to get through this, but it's just so stupid. So he goes to the truck stop, and he's like trying to figure out who he wants to serve him, I guess, or whatever. And he's like, I don't want the fat. He goes, I don't want the fat one that's stumpy with bright yellow hair and round pink cheeks, because I don't want that one. So I'm going to go to this young girl who looks like she's 18 or 19. So he gets this girl named Sharon Carter, which so happens, I guess, her dad owns the truck stop. So dumb. And he's talking to her, and he has the audacity. He asks her out on a dinner date, and he has the audacity to say to her, please bring a toothbrush because, quote, I'm most likely going to ask you to spend the night. Like, I don't know who you are, but that's pretty bold. I mean, that's pretty bold.
The whole
literally like
scene with him and her is the most insane part of this book. I wish I had like gotten more quotes, but it's within seconds. He's just like all in, and she's all about it, and it makes no sense.
Yeah, it's like the second sentence, and he just starts off by looking her up and down, like very obviously,
right.
Basically like, let's go.
Yeah,
she's like, hey, you're so funny.
Well, when
he's like, how often do you take men back or something? And she's like, it depends on the man. And he's like, how about this one or something? Or the clientele.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Well, she gets there at the. Here's the other thing that makes no sense. So she comes to the at the truck stop after he asks her out. She says yes. She's going to meet him for dinner later. He goes outside and realizes that there's a trucker out there that's got the name Easy Trucking Company, E like Edward, Z like Zebra Trucking Company, out of Akron, Ohio. And he ends up chatting with, I guess, the bad guys on the CB radio, and he disguises himself as an Easy Trucking employee. So now he knows that the trucking firm is the one behind the gas attack, and they're based out of Akron, or at least that's one of their locations. And then when he gets, this was also kind of weird, but once he gets back to the motor lodge, when he leaves the truck stop, he goes back to the motor lodge waiting for Philip Carey. Philip Carey hasn't arrived yet, but he ends up finding two syndicate guys there at his room, kind of just rummaging through his stuff. And he ends up shooting both of them. So you get the koosh as he kills both of these guys and just leaves them for dead in the motel room. And then he calls the police and it's like, hey, these two people came, I shot both of them. And obviously the police chief arrests him, so he has to go to jail. But I mean, imagine this. You're only allowed one phone call, supposedly. So you're allowed one phone call. He ends up calling White Hat, and White Hat's like, he's our guy. Just let him go. Like he's killed two people in your little farming community, but just let him go. And the police chief's like, what? We can't just let him go. But yeah, he has to. They just have to let him go, and there's no questions asked. But in the book, the police chief is described as being gross and overweight. That's how they describe the police chief. But
there's a lot of that in this book. That I think James Dockery might have had something against large people.
Yes, I noticed that as well. Any thoughts on him killing these two guys and then just getting out of jail?
It's
mean,
pretty
No, that
funny.
makes sense
Like,
to me.
yeah. I mean, even right afterwards, when he hears the cops coming, he's just like, "Ugh, this is gonna be a nuisance." He knows he's just gonna get out of it, and he's like, "What a minor inconvenience this is gonna be."
Pretty much. And they don't really explain it, but I guess he gets a new room because he's just killed these two people. There's probably blood everywhere, so I guess he gets a new room. They don't really say, but anyway, he just goes about his day. He ends up getting a call. This is where things get really weird. He gets a call, as if they aren't already weird, but he gets a call from when he gets out of jail, he ends up getting a call from somebody who says that they've got Philip, the guy he's yet to meet. They've got him captured, and for him to come there, ask for a guy named Robert and ask for a horse so he can get so he can get through the farm. Like he can't just. I don't know what the purpose of the horse was exactly, but he's supposed to go ask for a horse and ask for a guy named Robert in order to get Philip. But there's not going to be any funny business, so don't contact anybody. Just come here, get a horse, go talk to Robert, and then we'll figure what's going on with Philip. I mean, what were you guys thinking he was going to end up happening here? Do you think Philip was alive, dead? Like, what do you? I mean, obviously it's going to be some kind of trap, right?
I don't remember that part. I take notes of the main key points, and for some reason I didn't take that down. And then I wrote afterwards like something about a horse farm, and it almost feels like a fever dream that happened because it didn't really have much to do with the story or anything, and it was really weird and just shoved
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah, I
So
don't
I
know.
don't remember.
I don't remember what I thought was going to happen. I just remember thinking it was amusing that he shows up and this horse guy is like some old man, and he starts talking to him like, "Who are you? And is this a trap? And what is this going on?" He's like,
Yeah.
the old man's like, "I don't know. They just told me to wait here for someone asking for Robert and give him my horse." And I'm like,
Yes,
what?
exactly. That's literally what they told him. They said, just wait here, and this guy's going to show up and ask about a horse." And Butcher goes there. I guess he parks his car. I don't know. He parks his car somewhere on the farm, and then he gets out. He goes over to ask the guy for a horse, but the guy gives him a horse named Red Wing. So the horse has to be called Red Wing, and he says that it's a pretty frisky devil. And apparently, there's I guess a no-no spot that you don't touch the horse on. So there's like a no-no spot. Don't touch this patch, or else the horse will like lose its mind. And so on the trail, Butcher's riding his horse on the trail, and he gets ambushed by these two guys. It's always two. It's always two guys. So he gets ambushed by two guys. They tell Butcher this whole thing was a trap and that Philip's already dead. And then they ask Butcher to get off his horse and basically just stop asking questions. And one of the guys goes around the side of the horse to, I guess, tie up Butcher or whatever. And Butcher already has a switchblade out. And he just like and just stabs the guy immediately with a switchblade. And then the other guy's like, ah, and then he walks around as well. And Butcher reaches up to the no-no spot on the horse, and then the horse literally kicks the bad guy, and the bad guy just goes flying, and the Butcher goes on top of him and stabs him. And it's the only time that I know of in any Butcher book where a bad guy has been killed by horse. Like, just
It was
literally.
one of those statements. Like as soon as he starts telling him about the horse's like little button, I was like, "This is the most obnoxiously obvious foreshadowing I've ever read." Like obviously he's going to
Yeah.
use this against someone.
Yeah, just it's like a little like a game button. It's like a special power. It's like in Mike Tyson's Punch Out when you get the star and you can press star and start and hit the guy. That's what it's touch this little spot. Horse will do a special move. And the horse doesn't stop kicking because Butcher's back there cleaning off his knife, and the horse almost kicks his face off. So there's that as well. But at the beginning of chapter 5, they kind of give us a summary that the Butcher has been in town 2.5 days, and he's already killed 6 human beings. So he's 2.5 days, he's killed 6 people. So that's like, I mean, it's like Jack Reacher. And then next is sex. So Sharon calls Butcher from the lobby and Butcher politely tells her to be a good girl and asks the clerk to have room service send up some drinks. He's at the motor lodge. Have you guys ever been to any kind of motor lodge that has a lobby that offers room service? It's not the Taj Mahal here. It's a motor lodge. This doesn't happen, but Butcher decides to take a bath, I guess, after he's killed these two people at the farm. He goes back, he takes a bath, and he gets up and he's got his robe on, and he just literally goes to the door with his robe on, and she has drinks. They start drinking the drinks, and he immediately, like Brian said, like goes all in, and she reaches under his bathrobe and she shivers and looks deeply into his eyes and says, "You're quite a man, Mr. Butcher." and then you get 2 pages of nasty, and then Butcher's all done, and he leaves Sharon unsatisfied because Sharon's like, "Wow, you are really fast." And he's like, normally this doesn't happen. He's like, "I'm normally good for 2 or 3 rounds," but it's like, geez. I mean, it's just so dumb. Like this whole, like Brian, I think you were kind of alluding to this. This whole thing was just really awkward. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
the whole part of it was just really weird.
I've been reading through the beginning of the Executioner series too, like the first 4 or 5 I've read now, and I don't know if this is like a trend in these men's adventure books, but they describe it the same way. Like there's always a comment like, "You didn't last very long." He's like, "Well, like
It doesn't matter.
What's happening in these books?" And I'm like, "Why do they keep writing this?"
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I think
He got his. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. The bathrobe scene, I like how it's a conscious decision on his part. He's like, "Should I get dressed? No. I want her to see my hot body in this bathrobe when she comes up. That way she has less of an opportunity to be like, let's go to dinner first."
Right. Yeah,
And
I
it
think
works.
it worked perfectly.
And he says, "Oh, I was hoping she was that kind of girl. She's not one of them women's libbers, not a lady with hearts and flowers approach."
Yeah, I saw that too. Yeah. Yeah. He goes right after it, and she's fine with it. And later, as we find out, because they're going to go out to dinner, so they're taking her car to the roadhouse on the border of Ohio and Indiana. She has a CB radio, so she gives Butcher this bogus story about her father running this trucking company and coordinating a bunch of stuff. But ultimately, when they arrive at the roadhouse, Butcher realizes that she's involved in the whole thing, and the roadhouse is empty, and that Sharon Carter is a terror trucker, the horror. And, well, 2 things. First, does Sharon Carter have to put out at all? Like, what's the point of her even putting out at this point? Like, there's no point in it. And they could have just easily, I guess, just went to dinner or something. There's another way that she could have done this to get him killed or whatever she's trying to do. But did you guys see that Sharon Carter was going to be a bad girl? Like that kind of bad girl?
No, I didn't expect it.
Yeah.
I don't think I did either. But then, of course, when they're driving to that place, they have the silly scene in the car where she's talking to on the CB using all the trucker lingo, and he's like trying to understand what they all mean.
Yeah, I kind of suspected something was up.
Yeah.
I was thinking like maybe it would be her dad that was behind it all, and he would have to rescue her, and she would have to confront her dad as a bad guy, and that would have been kind of cool. But they didn't really go that route. But she explains that the whole plan is, which is just bonkers. But she explains that the whole plan is that this little terror trucker business is domestic terrorism. The idea is to start with Dayton, Ohio. They're going to topple the U.S. government and Washington, D.C. by upsetting the entire economy. And I was just reading this. I was like, certainly there's got to be more to it than that. But the reason is that they're sick and tired of the high cost of living in America. They're tired of eggs costing $14 a dozen for eggs, or whatever it was back then. So she also says that something kind of, I don't know, it's kind of interesting in a way. She says they're tired of the higher cost of living, and she says something that's kind of like a hot debate right now, this year. I mean, especially it's something that we've seen like the president talk about and other people talk about. She explains that she's angry because there's like billions of bushels of wheat and other farm products that are made here in the US, but then they're exported to other countries, some of them which are hostile countries or even what we would consider to be like enemy countries. But here at home, Americans are then forced to pay extra for goods and even the food that they grow right here. So the whole thing she feels like is lopsided, and her only recourse is to destroy the farming community, which will then let it be built back in a proper way. I mean, I don't. I mean, what she sounds like she's saying is she wants tariffs, right? So what she's saying, she wants tariffs in place to make the prices equal out, so they're not ripped off. But I ain't touching politics on this show, so I'm going to skip all that, unless you guys want to touch that. But I thought it was interesting.
I was confused about it. I wrote down when she was explaining, I was like, it sounds like they were mad that they were selling the food to other nations, so they're going to kill all the farmers. I was just like, what?
Right.
What are they talking about?
Yeah, I mean, her beef is that is what a lot of people are talking about now, is that like, well, like let's say, I don't know, we grow oranges in Florida and we ship the oranges to like Germany. Well, in turn, Germany's government charges a tariff on the people that made the oranges and shipped them there. Vice versa, let's say Germany ships a Mercedes Benz to us. The tariff that we're going to charge on the Mercedes Benz would be a lot less than what the Germans are charging us. So it's a lopsided, which is something they talk about all the time. They're like, well, it's not really fair that they're charging us more than what we would charge them. That's kind of what she's hinting at here, is why are we being ripped off on our goods that we're making here, but all these other countries are getting our goods at a lot less rate. So they feel like the farmers are getting paid enough, I guess, but there's a better way to do it than just to nuke,
kill the farmers,
kill all the farmers.
You're screwing these people back here.
We might be trying to make more sense of this than Stuart Jason did.
Maybe. Darn Stuart Jason doesn't even understand. But Butcher, he says that the trades are needed with other countries, and that a trade war will doom the entire earth. And Butcher is then tied up in a chair, and he's just left there. There's no real explanation of what they wanted to do to him. He's just left in this empty restaurant, tied to a chair, and Sharon and the bad guys just leave. I mean, they're
gonna gas him.
They're gonna gas him. Okay.
Yeah, that when he overheard the first CB call from Top Dog when he was hiding in the truck, the first one. Mm-hmm. That's what the message was. They're like, we're going to Indiana, and we're gonna unleash this.
Okay, so where he's at in the restaurant is just part of the whole area that they're gonna gas.
Yeah,
in the empty roadhouse. Yeah,
got it. Okay, so he's tied up there. This is where Timmy Martin and his dog Lassie show up, and the Butcher becomes literally a Lassie book. Like from here on out, this is an episode of freaking Lassie. This is the craziest thing.
Written by the second half was written by Dean Koontz.
Yes, Dean Koontz. There's a boy and his dog. The boy's name is Lem, Lem, and his dog is called Old Ben. I think it's Ben, Old Ben. They show up at the restaurant or wherever it's at, and Lem unties Butcher, and then he goes and gets this baler or something, and they park it in front of the road so the trucks can't get through to go gas the community. And then so they stop the tanker truck from gassing the community. Butcher, he then learns that there was a leak at White Hat, and that this Philip Carey guy was the one behind the whole thing. He's like a real guy, and he was leaking information from White Hat, which is why he's not showed up yet. He's the bad guy. And then he also finds out that the police are all involved in it as well. And I can't remember, but the police chief's part of it as well, too. The police chief, he's in on the racket.
I don't think so.
No, he was okay. He wasn't a part of it. It was just the others.
I thought we didn't find this out until the end.
I'm kind of skipping like some of the parts. Well, I mean, they stop the tanker truck, and then they discover that I mean, there isn't just I mean, the first 80 or 90 pages is where the goods are, but then after that, you're just like, well, you find out that Philip Carey was the guy that was leaking the information, and then they end up eventually finding out that the the whole operation, which is another thing that makes no sense. They found out the operation is out of Pittsburgh, right? So the action goes from the Ohio location, it goes over to Pittsburgh. You guys follow me so far?
Mm-hmm.
So they're in Pittsburgh, and the butcher, he shows up in Pittsburgh, and he's just walking down the street, apparently close to the headquarters of Easy Trucking, I guess. But it's so random because he's just walking down the street to Easy Trucking, and he gets assaulted by these two guys who are syndicate hitmen, just like the first chapter. It's literally the exact same thing that happened in the first chapter with these two syndicate guys saying, "Hey, they want to get the bounty on." I mean, none of this has anything to do with the book, right? These two guys have nothing to do with the story.
No.
They're just there to
Yeah,
fill
and it was
in.
weird because it was in the middle of the climax. Like he's
Yeah.
about to find out who's behind all of it, and then we got to stop and deal with this.
Right.
I was like, I actually wanted to know. I didn't know who it was. I didn't.
Yeah,
I hadn't figured it out.
Yeah, he's going to Pittsburgh to basically wrap the whole thing up, and then along the way he runs into these two guys that say, "Hey, they want to get in on the." Well, the butcher runs into them, and then he knows who they are because they apparently abused these two girls back in the day, and Butcher has always been wanting to get back at them, so he ends up kooshes both of them, and he shows up. He goes into the headquarters, and of course, Lim and the dog show up to basically save the day. I mean, and I don't understand any of this because White Hat lets Lim and the dog just kind of be like just participants, I guess, in a way. They just like he can come along and just, as long as he doesn't get in any trouble, doesn't get in the way, we'll just let him watch the festivities. And so Lim shows up with the dog, and they end up saving the day, and that's pretty much it. I mean, I know I'm skipping a bunch as we get closer to an hour, but I know I'm skipping some of it. But that's the first 80 pages pretty much sets up the rest, and then the rest of it's just fill in the blank. But what do you guys think?
I'd be interested for, you guys, you've read some after this, because they talk a lot about like Butcher wanting Lem to be like an agent for White Hat.
Yeah.
Like he's like the next big prodigy for White Hat, according to Butcher. And as someone who's read further, is he in this ever again? I mean, you haven't read all of them, but
not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
No. And
not one. Yeah, not. Yeah, that was hilarious. It was like, and it wasn't even after the end. It was after the first time when he saves Butcher from the roadhouse. He's like, he should be in White Hat. This guy's great.
Yeah,
he didn't do like anything. He just like found him. He's like untied him, and he's like, "Wow, you should be."
Hey, mister, what you doing here? I'm gonna cut these ropes. You should join White Hat. We're assassins.
You should join this covert organization that fights worldwide terror because you can untie people from chairs.
Yeah.
And you're a farm boy who can drive big, heavy farm equipment across the road to block truckers. So yeah,
he's basically like, and then there's a whole discussion in his head about feeling guilty for like the life that he's leading this kid toward. Why?
Yeah, it tries to get kind of deep, and we really don't want that. So the thing with Butcher is, when I first read the first couple, I was thinking this was going to be like, like an Executioner type of series where it was going to be kind of a little more serious, or like a Phoenix Force kind of thing where it would be a little bit more serious. And then I read the first one and I hated it because it was just so goofy. And then I read like the second or third one and I thought, okay, these are just stupid. Like I was just like, these are just dumb. But I ended up talking to Stephen Mertz, he wrote a lot of Executioner books, and he was telling me, you're looking at it all wrong, Eric. He's like, the Butcher is pulp. I was like, but it's from the 70s and it's a pinnacle. Like that's all Mac Bolan type of stuff. He's like, no, he's like, you're missing it. He's like, this is written in a pulp style. Butcher is a pulp hero. I was like, well, if I look at it that way, this totally makes sense. So then I read another one right after that, and I was like, okay, so if I look at it as a pulp thing, where none of this is really going to be any close to reality, then you're like, okay, well, then I can appreciate it a little bit more, and I can understand the cush parts now and that kind of thing. So looking at it like that, do you guys feel like this is more like a pulp story that you would read, like, you know, Black Bat or you know, Doc Savage, something like that? What do you think? Should it be more like Mac Bolan, or should we just look at it, even though it's modern, to be just another pulp hero, kind of just over the top pulp
So
hero?
this might be a hot take, but I remember as I was reading this thinking, man, this is so much more fun than the Executioner books.
Okay. Okay, well, that's
Maybe
good
that's
then.
just what I like.
Yeah.
And I know
Yeah.
that this is like trash and it's
Right.
not technically good. I mean, we just broke that down. But
Yes.
like it's so much more entertaining to read.
Yeah.
Because sometimes in a Mac Bolan, there's so much just like mafia politics, and I'm just like, oh, come on, let's go.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, it's just like, I mean, it's nonsense, but it's fun nonsense. So
Yeah.
I think you put the nail on the head as to what it is that I was liking about it.
Right. Yeah, and Nick, I think we've talked about this before. Like, there's no reason why any of us should be wasting time reading anything when there's, you know, there's Donald Hamilton books to read. There's, you know, John D. McDonald books, like amazing books, right? Amazing men's action adventure or vintage crime fiction that we should be reading. Like, if we haven't read all of, you know, I'm trying to think, I can't think of the guy's name, but if we haven't been reading all the great crime fiction stuff, why do we even bother reading stuff like this? But like you said before, Nick, it's just fun. Like, it's just fun to read trash.
Yeah,
Like, that's just more fun than reading, you know, Steinbeck, for example, or Ernest Hemingway. We want to read trash. It's more fun.
absolutely. Yeah, it's it doesn't take any mental effort to read this stuff,
Yeah.
and it's funny, you know, like the ridiculousness of it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's
I always am like, I could write this, and that makes me feel better. So I like to stay down at the bottom with the other bottom dwellers.
yeah.
You know, when
Yeah.
you read like Max Allan Collins, you're like, I could never write this. Get out of here.
Let's get this out.
Give me this hot book.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I will say that it's easier to review trash than it. Like, I just read like almost like a literary book about this guy in Ireland who's having an affair with this guy's wife, and it's a great book, amazing book. I can't wait to write a review on it, but it's going to take time to write the review because there's so many things that the author's saying in it, where I could type up this butcher review in like maybe 3 minutes, you know, instead of 30. So it is fun in that way. But I guess as a reader, I mean, obviously we get into moods where we want to read something serious. We want to read something that's, you know, pretty highbrow, and then we want to read something that's just bottom shelf trash. But is it fair to say, like, if from the author standpoint, is it really fair to say The Butcher is trash, or is it more just it's pulp? I mean, you wouldn't necessarily say, you know, The Black Bat is trash. You would just say, it's a pulp classic. Should we be saying The Butcher is a pulp classic, or should we just be calling it trash? I don't really know.
I don't know that I've read enough pulp to like know like
Yeah.
true pulp stories to be able to accurately compare. But I guess, you know, that's breaking down the author's intent at that point. Like, did he intend on emulating pulp style, or was he just trying to make a paycheck and didn't know how to write? I mean, we don't know, right?
Right.
But I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I think that we take the word trash because it has a negative connotation that people are into literature and stuff. They say that's trash. And it's sort of like we enjoy it, so we're taking it back and we're owning it. And now we're saying like this trash is awesome. And I would much rather read this trash than John Steinbeck, which is actual trash. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I talk about this all the time, but when I was talking to Ralph Hayes, who's wrote like a zillion men's action adventure novels, a bunch of action books, and he was saying that he hates when journalists and critics say that genre fiction is trash. Oh, it's just gothic suspense, or that's just a romantic suspense. It's just genre. It's just garbage. But in his defense, he was saying everything you read is genre. He was saying even Ernest Hemingway is genre. He's like, it's not really fair to say genre fiction is bad or trash. Everything you read is genre. I mean, everything we read has to have a genre, right? I mean, it just isn't. It just doesn't exist. It has to fit into something. Whether it's, if you're reading a romance book and it's set in World War II, I mean, technically you could say it's a romance, or you could say it's a World War II fiction or military history or military fiction. So everything fits. So I guess for me personally, I just consider this to be pulp, and I stick it in the pulp bin in my mind that's what it is, and I don't try to get anything else out of it. But I don't read a lot. I mean, like I said, I read 6 or 7 of them. I don't read them all the time. There's plenty to read. I think there's 34 books, but there's nothing else like this that I know of that Pinnacle did in the 70s that was this pulpy. I mean, it was like what you were saying, Brian, was going to be like Syndicate, intricacies of the mob, things like that, where you actually have to almost keep a character list in your mind of who's who and who's doing what and that kind of thing. There's always like one mob guy is trying to kill off another mob guy, right? It's always territory. So, would you guys do you guys recommend this book to anybody?
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna give it good reviews.
This is what we live for here. This is this is kind of stuff we enjoy talking about.
This is kind of why I named my channel Bad Taste Books, is because I like books that most people think are of bad taste. Like people, like, let's go back to the trash thing, is like most people would call this trash, and I'm, I like this. I don't care what you guys think of it. This is my thing. This is the kind of stuff I enjoy. And, objectively, is it good? Like intellectually, I don't know, maybe not, but it's fun.
It's fun.
It's good enough for me.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I mean, if you like B-movie stuff, if you're a fan of like Puppet Master and Cellar Dweller and all that kind of stuff, then I think you should check this out. It's a lot of fun. If you like men's action adventure in general, I think there's probably enough action here to sustain you. If you like even adult westerns, I think there's probably some kind of little western theme going here with this guy riding a horse and getting laid. So, and he's even doing fast draw. He's even quick drawing. He's doing fast draws on the bad guys. So there's that too. So wait, 2 thumbs up from everybody on this book? 2 thumbs up, 1 thumb up? What do you think?
Yeah, thumb and a half.
Yeah, thumb and a half. I wouldn't go two full thumbs.
Yeah, I'll go a thumb, I guess. I'll do 1 thumb.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so my wife hates when I do this. I have so my thumb right here. So I have this. Yeah. You guys ever see that? Yeah, she hates that.
Hitchhiker thumb.
Yeah, she hates it. It's like, it's gross. In closing, what are you guys currently reading? What are you reading right now?
I just finished Michael McDowell's Blackwater, and I'm just reading. I'm quickly reading in my next entry in the Animorph series before I go on to something else. So
cool, nice.
I am reading the Parasaurians, Robert Wells, that sci-fi book that we're doing on the next episode of the Elusive Exclusive Book Society.
Nice.
It's like Dinosaurs meets Westworld.
That sounds really fun, actually. I'm reading, I guess, 90s young adult horror on.
I love it.
Avon. It's an Avon book from 19.
Avon Flair, yeah.
Is that what it is? Avon Flair. Yeah, Avon. Yeah, that's what it is. Avon Flair, 1991, by Katherine Jensen, who writes as Nicole Davidson. So I'm reading this book.
I have that one. There's Winter Kill and Winter Crash or something. Isn't there like a sequel to that?
Is there a sequel?
I think so. I have both of them somewhere. But
neat.
Yeah. I can't remember. I think it's Winter Kill and Winter Crash or something. I have both of them. I haven't read that though. But
it's it's young adult, but there's already, I mean, they talk about sex, they talk about alcohol, and there's the brutal murder has already happened. So I don't know if it's really that different than what I normally read with horror. So
there's a lot of good stuff in the 90s young adult horrors. Nick's a little judgy, but it's there's some fun stuff there.
Nick, do you ever watch like the 90s slasher stuff? Like I know what you did last summer, Scream, Disturbing Behavior. Well, that wasn't really slasher, but any of those kind of movies?
Yeah, I saw those. I saw them when they came out.
I would say, Brian, is that a pretty good representation on film of what you can expect from these kind of books?
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, I get that Nick's not into it. It's for me, and I'm surprised you're reading it. It's very much nostalgia for people my age. I mean, we grew up with those kinds of books. And
Yeah.
so going back to them is now, I don't know, it hits a little button in your head, a little nostalgia button. So
Yeah. Well, I was born in '76, so in fact, I've got a couple point horror paperbacks that I bought from the school fairs. So
yeah.
cool. Well, this was fun. Let's do it again. It's been an hour. It's been good.
It was.
All
Thanks for
right.
having me on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks for
absolutely.
thanks for coming on. Again, that's Brian with Bad Taste Books, Nick with the Book Graveyard. Be sure to check them out, and I will catch you next time with another one of these conversation videos. Take care.